Nishant sir, we can start the batch. All are in.
Okay, thanks, Rami. Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Nishant sir.
Hi. Any questions out from what we discussed last time before I kick off?
No.
Any questions?
No, sir. We are good. I am good.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
So, what to discuss in the last class, I think we discussed the difference between a commercial bank and an investment bank. And then we started discussing in terms of what is capital. So the line which is highlighted in yellow, that's what we concluded is called as capital. So it's in any amount invested into the business at any point of the time in any form is called as capital, which can be either debt or equity. Now let's understand what do you mean by this debt and equity. So when I say debt, or let's say equity, so these debts are borrowed funds, whereas this equity is the owner's fund. So for example, if I want to buy house which price is let's say 50 lakh rupees, but I have only 30 lakh and I take 20 lakh from bank as loan, then in this example the 30 lakhs becomes equity because that's my own money, and 20 lakh becomes my debt or borrowed funds, and 50 lakhs, so 30 is from my pocket and 20 is from the bank, which makes it 50, becomes my capital because the total investment in this example is 50 lakh. Sahil, in case you're not asking the question, can you go and mute?
Yes, sure, sir.
So in this example, the borrowed funds, this 20 lakhs becomes borrowed funds and this 30 lakh becomes an equity funds. And when you take a debt, you have fixed obligation to repay. और repay दो तरह का होता है. First is interest and second is principal repayment. Correct. So for example, in this 20 lakh amount, if I have taken a 20 lakh rupees from the bank as a loan, then I have an obligation to pay the interest to the bank on a periodic basis, as well as I have to pay the principal repayment. And that's what is called as EMI, correct? I can't tell the bank कि ठीक है मैं पे नहीं कर रहा, मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है. Bank will not bother about that, correct? I have to pay the fixed amount to the bank on a periodic basis. Is everybody with me? Any doubt in this?
Understood.
Okay. So, but when it comes to the owner's fund, there is no fixed obligation, neither to pay return, which is called a dividend in equity, nor an obligation to repay the principal. So, and this combination of debt and equity is what becomes capital. So the last class we discussed what is capital. Now I'm breaking down into debt and equity, and we're discussing the difference between debt and equity. Any doubt in this, please?
Understood.
Okay. Now let's take an example of a company. So suppose let's take Reliance as an example. A Reliance suppose they need 90 lakh rupees for some expansion project. They already have, let's say, 30 lakh. So this becomes an equity for them. Now they are short of 60 lakhs. They decide to raise 20 lakh from public through issue of equity shares, and remaining, guys, you need to focus. This is critical, please. Feel free to ask any doubt at any point of time. We're not clear on any of this concept. These
Excuse me,
concepts will create a foundation of this entire journey. Yeah, go ahead.
So your voice is breaking. Clear नहीं आ रही है.
बाकी लोग को भी क्लियर नहीं है कि ईशा को क्लियर नहीं. साहिल, am I clear and audible?
Sir, yes. I can hear you properly.
ईशा, I think आपके end पे network problem
Okay,
है.
sir. Yeah, I'll check.
So, yeah. So in this case, Reliance needs 90 lakhs. They already have 30 lakhs, which becomes equity. They are short of 60 lakhs. Out of that 60 lakhs, they decide to raise 20 lakh from public through issue of equity shares. So 30 plus 20 becomes 50, and in short, remaining 40 lakhs. They decide to take loan from the bank. So what does this mean? 90 lakh becomes total capital, out of which 30 lakh is existing equity, 20 lakh is new equity, which in turn means 50 lakh will be total equity, and 40 lakh is a debt. Any doubt till this way? This is the capital structure. I'm just trying to give you bifurcation in terms of how do you understand what is the portion which is capital, sorry, what is the capital and what's the bifurcation between equity and debt. And I've added one more complication in this by bringing in existing equity and a new equity.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, Shailesh.
So the company decided 20 lakh from public through the IPO.
Yeah, it could
Oh,
be an IPO or an FPO, depend करता है. So
oh,
these issue of equity shares either would be an IPO, it could be an FPO as well. We will discuss those pieces.
FPO what, sir? IPO is initial public offer, and FPO is.
Is further public offering or follow-on public offering. कराऊंगा अभी. We'll discuss that. We'll come to that.
Oh, okay.
So, hi, good evening, Nishant.
Yeah, Bhavesh.
Actually, I have a question. So, company needs 90 lakh rupees for expansion. So, they already have 30 lakh rupees. So, okay, let's take an example. So, at this point in time, company's capital is, let's suppose it's 1 crore. So, out of that, 30 lakh is already a part of that 1 crore. Now, company needs more 90 lakh in addition to 1 CR. So, why are we taking this 30 lakh which is already existing?
No, so when I'm saying 90 lakh is not the capital of the company. 90 lakh is the capital for the new project. I'm not computing this capital at a company level. If I'm taking capital at a company level, then yes, this 30 lakh should be counted once, not the count, not probably be counted twice, which is in this example जो आप शायद highlight करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो. So I'm calculating this 90 lakh capital for this new expansion project. जिसमें से 30 lakh existing है और 20 lakh मैं नया raise कर रहा हूँ.
सर वो 30 लाख एग्जिस्टिंग कहाँ रखा हुआ है, मतलब कंपनी के पास?
कहाँ रखा हुआ? Could be in form of cash, could be in form of bank account.
Also in the form of retained earning.
रिटेन अर्निंग इन फॉर्म ऑफ कैश या बैंक ही होगा ना. वो कहाँ रखा हुआ पूछ रहा है.
नहीं, पर
So
आपने इक्विटी बोला ना, तो हाँ, तो
इक्विटी कैश की फॉर्म में तो होगा ना.
yes, yes,
अगर रिटेन अर्निंग है so which means I have that profit, correct? That profit might be
yes.
I'm holding in cash, which seems to be illogical because of the amount that we're looking at, which means मेरे बैंक अकाउंट में पड़ा होगा in some shape and form. Could be FDs, could be a savings account, my current account. How does it matter in which bank account it's like? It's the amount lying in your bank account.
Okay, all right, thank you.
तो भावेश आपका जो क्वेश्चन है ना वो ये है. आपने बोला कि लेट्स assume कंपनी का ऑलरेडी कैपिटल से कंपनी इन दिस केस रिलायंस कैपिटल आपने बोला 1 CR. ठीक है. इस 1 CR में 30 लाख ऑलरेडी इंक्लूडेड है, करेक्ट?
हाँ जी.
तो मैं 30 लाख को दोबारा ऐड नहीं कर रहा हूँ. मैं इस 30 लाख को सिर्फ ये बोल रहा हूँ कि जो न्यू प्रोजेक्ट है इसकी टोटल 90 लाख की रिक्वायरमेंट है, जिसमें से 30 लाख यहीं से आ गया. ये 30 लाख यहाँ पर आ गया. दिस इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग.
ओके, ठीक है सर.
तो जो मैं कैपिटल की बात कर रहा हूँ वो इस प्रोजेक्ट की बात हो रही है, नॉट अबाउट द कंपनी. Okay.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, Mahima.
How we will raise 20 lakh from public? क्योंकि अभी तो हमारा प्रोजेक्ट हुआ भी नहीं है ना स्टार्ट. If we are assuming.
So ये कैसे रेज करेंगे? आईपीओ से रेज करेंगे, एफपीओ से करेंगे? ऑल दिस विल डिस्कस.
Okay.
ओके सर. ओके, थैंक यू.
चलिए अभी डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. लेट्स ये आगे लाइंड अप था बट ठीक है, लेट मी एक्सप्लेन इट नाउ. So let's understand how the company is being structured. So let's assume so let's assume We have a company, so suppose Ram is the owner of the company, and the name of the company is Ram and Sons. Okay, so Ram is the only owner of the company. Guys, focus now. ध्यान से सुनो और ध्यान से पढ़ो जो मैं लिख रहा हूँ. And please feel free to ask any doubt in this, and whenever you're not comfortable or any point that you're not clear. So Ram is the only owner, and suppose he has invested, let's assume let's assume 1 lakh rupees, or let's assume 10 lakh rupees. ठीक है. Now he's invested 10 lakh and he's the owner. So I can say that Ram is 100% owner of the company. Can we say that?
Yes.
Because
Yes, sir.
total capital is how much? Total capital is 10 lakh and Ram contribution कितना है?
And
Ram contribution is also, so 100% belongs to the 100% company belongs to the Ram.
Yes, sir.
Now suppose company wants to expand, and Ram के पास पैसा नहीं है, so let's assume Mohan is willing to invest into the company. And he also brings 10 lakh. तो अब कंपनी का टोटल कैपिटल कितना हो गया?
20.
राम कंट्रीब्यूशन प्लस मोहन कंट्रीब्यूशन, इसमें राम एंड मोहन ब्रेकअप इज हाउ मच? 10 lakh.
50% owner है.
So hence उनका जो स्टेक है वो राम का जो 100% था वो 50% हो गया. ये समझ आया आप लोगों को?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
किसी को कोई डाउट यहाँ तक?
No.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Now company again wants to expand. Guys, मैं आपको जानबूझ के slides के through नहीं दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहा. I'm just trying to give you a story around this in a very simple shape and form so that you can retain it for a longer period of time. This is the foundation of this entire concept. ठीक है, तो इसको theory terms में slides में पढ़ के is not going to help you too much. You need to absorb this. You need to understand this. This concept has to go into your blood. Let me put it this way. Then only you would be able to probably start this journey on a right note. Otherwise, if you just memorize it as a concept without understanding the deep pieces of this, then I think you will not be able to build a very strong foundation out of this. Now company suppose again wants to expand, okay, and let's assume again they need 10 lakh rupees. Now company decide to raise from public. अब ध्यान से देखो यहाँ से. They decide to raise money from the public. So now let's assume public गिव 10 लाख रुपीज. पब्लिक मतलब एक बंदा नहीं है, बहुत सारे लोग मिलके टोटल 10 लाख रुपए देते हैं. दैट्स व्हाट इट मींस. करेक्ट. तो अब जो न्यू कैपिटल होगा वो क्या होगा? राम, मोहन and public. Public is, again guys, I'm repeating myself, public is not one person. Probably there will be 1,000 or lakh of people who are putting small amount. मैं सबको individually small amount नहीं लिख रहा हूँ, मैंने सबको collate करके एक amount लिख दिया. So राम का 10 लाख है, मोहन का 10 लाख है और पब्लिक का 10 लाख है. तो टोटल अब हो गया टोटल अब हो गया आपका 30 लाख. Sahil, in case you're not speaking, please go on mute. And please be careful if you're not speaking, so please ensure you're on mute. So total capital 30 लाख हो गया. Now stake, जो राम का स्टेक है वो राम कंट्रीब्यूशन डिवाइडेड बाय टोटल कंट्रीब्यूशन हो गया ना, which becomes 30% now. Correct. Are we clear with this process? So what happens when you start raising more and more and more equity? The existing owners of the company, उनका stake dilute हो जाता है, उनकी ownership in percentage कम हो जाते हैं. And just to revise this, if we go to the first scenario, see, in this the Ram was the 100% owned of the company. जो राम का stake था वो 100% था. ठीक है. उसके बाद राम का stake 50% हो गया. And in the third scenario, राम का stake 33% हो गया. And so on. So the important point I need to understand, when company through equity, then percentage stake for existing shareholders decrease. Take this. I'm giving you a minute. Just absorb this. Note down this. आप note कर लीजिए. कुछ पूछ रहा है तो पूछे. I'm giving you a minute. Absorb this.
Sir, can you scroll down to the last statement? It's not visible. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Can you please quickly brief? I lost my connection for some time.
So, so here are we going to discuss about how they have issued actually requested the public to raise for 10 lakh?
Could you repeat your question?
I was asking, are we going to discuss how they have actually asked the public to raise the shares, or is it about the IPO and FPO involved?
Sorry, I'm still not clear on the uh, uh, whether we will discuss how this 10 lakh has been raised from the public. Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll discuss that. We're moving towards that. So slowly we're moving towards what I've done now. I've brought in public now. So once we once you close till this piece, then probably next is how do we actually do it from a process perspective, or how this is being done from an IPO and FPO perspective of both we discuss currently. Okay. So now let's understand this. So now what do you mean by share? आपको ये समझने की जरूरत है. Okay. So share means portion. If I say my share in this cake is 50%, which means if there's a cake, 50% of the cake belongs to me and 50% cake belongs to somebody else. So now that's what is called as share. And similarly, so if I have, let's assume, a cake, but this cake, which is nothing but the company, let me put this C, this cake is nothing but the company. This 100% company belongs to Ram in this first example. So he becomes the sole owner of the company. Entire profit and the loss, whether be it profit or the loss, he will receive 100% of that profit or the loss. In the second scenario, again we have the same cake. The company doesn't change. The size of the company remains same. But now Ram is only 50% owner of the company. So his portion, which was 100%, has reduced to 50%. And another 50% now belongs to Mohan, which means whatever is the profit or the loss of the company, Ram will only be entitled to receive 50% of that entire profit or the loss. And similarly, in the case 3, again for the same company, now Ram's share in the company is only 33%. Now how does this happen? So this happens through, let's focus on IPO first. It happens through IPO. So what is IPO?
Sir, before we proceed, I just wanted to ask you, are they are they sharing losses as well?
Yeah, of course. Why not? See, if you're the owner of the company, or if you're owner into any business, you're let's assume 30% owner on the company. So whatever good or bad happens to the company, be it a profit or be it loss, your portion or your share into that good or bad is 30%. That's why you're owner in the company, correct? Bhavesh, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what do you mean initial public offering? So before we go to initial public offering, you need to understand what is share certificate. It's like a certificate like this. Examples are मान लो एक certificate है. ठीक है, सो लेट्स assume शेयर सर्टिफिकेट पे 100 रुपीज लिखा है, एंड कंपनी का नाम लिखा है राम एंड सन्स. So if let's assume Bhavesh gets this 10 certificates, and company has total certificate, let's assume 100, and Bhavesh let's assume get 10 out of this. तो अगर एक सर्टिफिकेट 100 रुपए का है तो भावेश ने 10 सर्टिफिकेट के लिए कितने पैसे दिए होंगे? 1000 रुपीज गाइस.
Yes.
Any doubt in this, please, guys? Is this clear now? You need to respond at least to get a sense.
Yes, is 1,000 rupees.
Let's assume again. Let's take Satya now. Let's assume Satya again. Satya, let's assume purchase. Let's assume 5 shares. So he will pay how much? 5 into 100.
Yes.
Similarly, so suppose you have, let's assume Pooja, you have Ravi, and so on. So these people purchase. So let's assume he purchased, let's assume, another 20 shares, and he will let's contribute 20 into 100. And assume Ravi again purchases another 20 shares, so which means another 20 into 100, so which makes it 55, correct? So which means we're talking about another 25 and 20 stake. So let's assume this is Ram, and let's assume this is Mohan. So this is 25. Satya, can you go on mute? Now this is the way the entire shares will be purchased by the public. And if I say total shares जो company के बिकेंगे वो 100 है, which is equivalent to what they started off. Now what will happen out of this is now each of these investors have purchased these shares, and let's assume these investors are nothing but the public. So what will happen? इनका percentage stake आ जाएगा. So which means कंपनी में टोटल कैपिटल कितना हो गया? So out of this divided this is the percentage stake that each of these will have in the company, and this is what exactly IPO is. So IPO is initial public offering where the company, यहाँ पे company ने ये 100 shares public को offer करे. So company has offered these 100 shares to the public, and these applicants from the public have purchased this much of shares, and in return, so they have purchased this much of shares. So जो मैंने येलो में हाईलाइट किया ये उन्होंने शेयर्स परचेज करे हैं, और जो मैंने लेट्स अज्यूम ग्रीन में हाईलाइट किया दिस इज द अमाउंट that they have given to the company or they have invested into the company, and for this amount जो मैंने रेड फॉन्ट में हाईलाइट किया है वो because they have invested, for example Bhavesh has invested 1000 out of 10,000, hence his percentage stake in the company is 10%. So in future when the company makes a profit or loss, his portion or share into that profit and loss would be 10%. देखिए यहाँ तक कोई डाउट हो?
Nishant, in today's day and age, isn't the concept of share certificate redundant given how almost all securities, in fact, all of them are now in dematerialized form?
Yes, it is, but here I'm not trying to explain, at least as of now, in terms of whether it's a physical security or whether it's a electronic security, which is your dematerialization. What I'm trying to focus here on is it's a process of an IPO. Now, in this, the share certificate be is a physical format or could be a digital format, correct? How does it make a difference in a current world? Rather than giving you a physical printout of a share, which is called a share certificate, I will credit 1 unit of the share in your demat account.
Right.
Yeah. So, but still the process and the calculation of an IPO and the percentage stake still remains same, correct?
Right.
It's a
Okay.
It's a form of, for example, today if I have to pay you 500 rupees, I can give you a physical note of 500 rupees. That's one option available to me. The another option available to me, rather than giving you physical cash, I transfer from my Paytm or from my bank account to your bank account. That's nothing but a digital payment, right? Similarly, rather than company
Right.
giving you a physical share certificate, would be nothing but a printout. They rather than giving you in a physical format, they give you in an electronic format. So you're right, it is redundant, but what we're not discussing here is the channel of
As we know that the
Akansha,
public
1 minute. So
33% of the shares amongst all of them. So if we total all the percentage of stake that every person individual is over here,
The physical
like we've
form,
calculated
no.
10% of Bhavesh, 5% of Satyan, whatever. So if we add up all of these
Right.
won't turn up 33%.
Exists.
sorry. So sorry, Akansha, I was not able to hear you clearly. Let me first close Akshay. I'm not sure who was that who asked me the previous question. Was it Akshay? Who was asking about physical shares and
Yes, he was Akshay.
Akshay, are there? Okay, no issue. So yeah, Kansha, go ahead. So sorry, could you repeat your question?
So I was asking, actually, if we see in the current example, we are seeing that the public share would be 33% out of all. Now here, if we add all of these percentage stake of these people, obviously the total is not going to be 33%.
Yeah,
so how are we going to demarcate the difference of the percentage over here for the public?
So don't try and match this example with the example that we discussed here. If you want me to match these numbers, मैं वो calculate match कर देता हूँ. But the purpose of this is just to explain you how does an IPO happen in terms of percentage allocation. But these numbers are not the numbers of the previous example where it was 33%. For example, in this case, the Mohan is holding what? 25%. Ram is holding 20%. So अगर 33 करना है तो उसको 33 कर देते हैं. So if that's what हाँ जी. So Akansha, this is, अगर आप numbers same चाहते हैं, तो this is what it will happen.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just got confused. That's it.
No issue. So if you total all this which are highlighted in orange, so this will become public, and this entire total will come out to be 33%.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Welcome. Any other doubt, guys?
No doubt, sir.
No, sir. Can you go on mute, please? Okay. So in terms of Sahil, can you please be on mute? I think this is the third time or fourth time I'm requesting you. So in case you're not speaking or you don't have any questions, please ensure that you're on mute. I think that's the simple protocol that you need to, and everybody need to probably adhere. So please. Now, yeah. So we've discussed in the last class what is commercial bank, what is investment bank. Today we have also discussed in terms of what is capital, what is debt, what is equity, and how does a percentage stake changes when the company come out with an IPO. Now, going back to commercial banks, हमने investment bank, we've discussed this investment bank, we've discussed commercial bank, I will introduce a couple of more terminologies in this. So retail bank and corporate bank. Yeah. So we've discussed first two. What do you mean by third and the fourth? What do you mean by retail bank and what do you mean by corporate bank? Anybody wants to try this? What do you mean by retail bank? What do you mean by corporate bank?
Retail may be just for consumers like us, individuals.
So these correct. These retail and the corporate banking is nothing but the two segments of the commercial bank. So commercial banks have I have two sections or departments. So one is retail. This is the department which deals with individuals. And second is the corporate, okay, which deals with corporates. So for example, ICICI Bank is a commercial bank, CB लिख रहा हूं. So if I go to ICICI Bank or you go to ICICI Bank in individual capacity and you say I want to open my account, then ICICI Bank की retail banking team आपसे interact करेगी. But if Infosys goes as Infosys to ICICI Bank and say, please open the salary account of all my employees, because now it's a company who is dealing with ICICI Bank rather than individuals dealing with ICICI Bank, then in ICICI Bank, a corporate banking team would be handling this transaction. Any doubt in this? Are we clear in terms of what do you mean a retail bank and corporate bank? Yes, sir. So retail bank and the corporate bank does not mean there's a new legal entity. It's the same company which is commercial bank. It's just in the commercial bank you have two departments or two teams. One is retail banking and another is a corporate bank.
Okay.
Sir, one question.
Yeah, Megha.
Sir, current account is a part of retail banking or corporate banking?
It's a part of
Because
both.
current account, yeah, because current account can be opened by a proprietor or by a company.
Correct. That's why I said it's part of both. So if I, as a sole proprietor, if I go to a bank and I ask for a current account in name of my as an individual, so that's the offering of the retail banking team. But if Infosys goes and say open a current account in the name of Infosys, so then current account will not be open in the name of an individual, will be open in the name of the corporate. Then the corporate banking team of ICICI would be handling the transaction or opening that account.
Okay, thank you.
Any other doubt? Okay. Okay. Now, if you're clear with this, so what I want you to be clear with these four concepts of the terms, which is investment bank, commercial bank. And so let me, rather than numbering it in 3, let me number this as 2.1 and this becomes 2.2 because this is subheadings under commercial banks. So if you're clear with these four concepts of the term, then we'll come back to this slide, which is very important. We'll cover some pieces of this slide today and probably comes remaining pieces in tomorrow's session. So we'll start with the extreme right side, retail bank. So you have at the right extreme corner at the bottom, you have retail lending and the services, and you will see a retail bank. So I've explained you this. What do you mean a retail bank? This retail bank is a retail department of a commercial bank. So the first product or the services that they deal in is retail lending and services. So which means if suppose I go to ICICI Bank, you go to ICICI Bank and ask for a loan, that's nothing but a retail lending services. The lending or the loans that they give to the individuals by a retail department is called as retail lending and services. Any doubt? So I'm putting numbers around this. Any doubt on point one? No, sir. Purposes could vary. So this could be home loan, could be a car loan, or could be your education loan, or whatever. So that's not what we're discussing here in terms of purpose. The purpose could be depending upon the customer and the requirement, but it will still fall into retail lending category. In fact, your credit credit card also falls in the retail lending category, because if I as an individual go to a bank and ask for a credit card, that's nothing but a lending product. Okay. Then the second is your private banking. So private banking is so for example, if I go to ICICI Bank, because I would be an individual dealing in a small ticket size transaction. But let's assume if Mr. Bachchan or Virat Kohli goes to ICICI Bank, these are still individuals, correct? They're not corporates, but they would be dealing in a large size transaction. इनके account में जो balances होंगे, जो payment कर रहे होंगे, these are very big amount transactions, correct? So उनको special treatment दिया जाता है, and those are called as private banking. Now, every bank uses different fancy names for these. Sometimes they call as private banking, for sometimes they call as super HNIs, for some banks it's called an HNI. It doesn't make too much of a difference. So private banking means those individuals which are not, which are still individuals, but dealing in a very high large transactions, those are being categorized as private banking. So they will get much more enhanced or better services. Probably, for example, if I have to open my account, probably I have to go to ICICI Bank. But let's assume if Virat Kohli or Mr. Bachchan wants to open their account, probably they will not come to the branch, and somebody from the branch will visit their premises or office, depending upon what is the requirement. So these are some additional services that the retail banking team gives to the private banking customers. Any doubt in second point of this slide?
No, sir.
So
No, it's
basically,
fine.
we go for the banking and services. So we'll be catering to retail lending and services.
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
If I have, likewise, you explained about the private banking for the like big personalities. It's for basically catering to the big personalities. But if people like us who are actually catering for normal transactions, so we come under in the retail lending and services.
Yes, so it's not that only big personalities will be categorized as private banking. So you can also get into the private banking, but the criteria for an individual to get into private banking is the size of the transaction. So if you're dealing in, suppose, 1 lakh rupees, or you're maintaining a bank balance of, let's say, 1 lakh rupees or whatever, 4-5 lakh rupees, then probably you will still be categorized as a retail category under individual. But let's say if you're maintaining a balance of, let's say, 10 crore or some 20 crore balances, then probably you will fall in the category of private banking. So it's not about whether you are a celebrity or not, it's about what is the balance that you maintain your accounts.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Any other doubt?
Yes.
Okay, so in case no doubt, so moving to the point 3. Corporates. Corporate banking is again a department of the commercial bank which deals into the which which deals into the which deals into the which deals with the corporates of the commercial corporates clients, and hence falls in the category of the corporate banking. So first, point number 3 is the financing. This financing means so for example, the example that we we're discussing in terms of Reliance, who needs some capital for their expansion, if they go to a bank and ask for the funds for financing, financing means you're raising funds from somebody. So if a corporate goes to a bank and asks for the funds, and those funds are required for an expansion or some development of their business model, then those are nothing but the financing services that they avail from the corporate banking team. The point number 3 and the point number 4 are pretty similar. The only difference between point 4 and point 3 is the point 4 talks about the corporate loans and the SME lending. The SME is small and medium enterprises. So in the corporate world, you have some small corporates as well. When you give loans to those small corporates, that still falls under corporate banking. But there's a within the corporate banking, there's one more subdivision or sub team which is called as an SME lending team, and that's why the loans given by that team is called as SME lending. So point 3 and point 4 is pretty similar. Loans are also called as financing. So any doubt in point 3 and point 4? No, sir.
No doubt, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, Isha.
Sir, can you please repeat point number 3? There was some network issues. That's why.
So point number 3 is financing. When a bank gives loans or funds to corporate to meet any of their commercial requirement, that's called as financing. And hence point number 3 has a lot of overlap with the point number 4, because the point number 4 also talks about loans to either a big corporates or either to a small corporates, which is also called as SME. So point 3 and point 4, to keep it simple for you, simply means the loans given by banks to the corporates to meet their commercial requirements.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other doubt in 4 and 3? Any doubt in 4 and 3? Okay. Then you have trade finance. Trade finance is primarily on giving funding or the financing to facilitate the trade. For example, let's take an example of an export and import kind of a transaction. So suppose if I am an Indian exporter, what do my Indian exporter? I'm based out of India. I'm a manufacturer in India, and I sell goods outside India. So I'm an Indian exporter. And let's assume Satya is based out of US, and he is a buyer based out in US. So he has given me a call, and he says he's placed an order to me to deliver, let's assume, some product, and let's assume the entire value of that consignment, let's assume $1 lakh. Okay. Now there's a conversation between Satya and Nishant. Now listen to this carefully. So Nishant, which is seller in this example, is requesting Satya to pay in advance, because my concern is that I'm dealing with Satya for the first time. I have no past business relationship with Satya. I don't know him. My concern is, what if I ship my goods to US, and Satya, after taking the delivery of the good, does not make the payment. So that's my concern. Any doubt on this piece? Any doubt? Okay.
Hi Nishant,
No, sir.
just like letter of credit, which deals with
Yeah.
in case
Yeah.
of
So
export.
these trade finance will have letter of credit, buyer's credit, hundis, and so on.
Okay,
Yeah. So letter of credit is one of those products that we do in the trade finance.
okay.
So yeah. So continuing with my example. So that's I've explained you my concern. Similarly, Satya will have his own concerns. So Satya, on the other hand, will say, if Satya makes similar, because Satya is also dealing with me for the first time, so the way I don't have a trust on him, he will also have same concerns and apprehensions about me, correct? So, the way Satya will think, what if I make an advance payment to this seller, and after taking a payment, the person does not ship the goods? Satya is based of US. He can't get hold of me if I run away with my money. If I run away with his money. Similarly, if Satya takes the shipment or takes the delivery of my goods and does not make the payment after the delivery, I can't get hold of him easily because he's based out of US. So that's the problem, correct? We both will not trust each other, and we will not be able to do these transactions, and both are right on their parts, correct? Any doubt in this before I move further?
No doubt, sir.
Okay. So now to facilitate this, the bank will come in between. So I will tell Satya, okay, let's not complicate this. You go to your bank and get a letter of credit issued in my favor. So what does that mean? Satya will go to his bank, which is based out of US, और वो अपने बैंक को जाके बोलेगा कि आप एक letter of credit issue कर दो निशांत के favor में. And what does the letter of credit will say? The letter of credit will say like this. So let's assume that the bank in US, let's assume first for sake of discussion, is ICICI Bank. Now that ICICI Bank will confirm that once the goods are being delivered to Satya, the bank promises to make the payment to the seller in India. Now it's not Satya who is promising, it's a bank who is promising on behalf of Satya. So the moment I delivered the goods in US, I have to just show those documents to the bank to get the payment. I don't have to go to Satya to receive my payment. And once bank releases the payment to Nishant in this example, the bank in turn will recover the money from Satya. And that document is called as letter of credit. And that's nothing but an example of a trade finance, because to facilitate the trade between exporter and importer, the bank has financed this trade. Any doubt, questions on point number 5?
No, sir.
Any doubt?
So, one doubt. What is the surety that A will pay? Like, how will A's bank take money from A? What if he becomes a defaulter?
Who becomes defaulter?
Like A's bank has given B a guarantee that A will the payment will be made once B delivers the good to A,
Correct.
and B has delivered the goods and A's bank make the payment. But what is the guarantee? Like, how will the A's bank will take money from A?
That's not my lookout, correct? That's not the B's lookout in your example. B is not bothered how A's bank recovers the money from A. B's lookout is only that
To get his money.
if B delivers the product or delivers the consignment as per the terms and condition, the A's bank should release the money immediately to B. That's the only thing that B is interested in. Nothing after that.
Okay.
But let's still answer your question.
So it does not depend on the bank, whichever bank the letter of credit has been taken. It will just be depending upon the letter of credit that it has like whoever who is buying the consignment will just take a letter of credit from their bank, and you will be showing your proof of the delivery being done to any other bank, or it has to be the same bank?
No, so that's not the way it works. So in a real world, it's more complicated than the example that I've given it, and that's what I was trying to complete. So let me add a couple of more layers to this. So in a real world, so let's assume let's let me put the example on the screen so that you can digest it, because this will become a little complicated now. So let's assume A. So A is the US buyer, correct? And then we're talking about B, who was the Indian seller, correct? So this is A bank. Now, in this example, A's bank will issue a letter of credit to A in the favor of B, but I have no trust on A and A's bank. ठीक है, रियल वर्ल्ड में ऐसा होता है. आई डोंट नो दिस एज बैंक, बिकॉज ये ए बैंक भी तो यूएस में है. हु नोज वो बैंक वहां पे है नहीं है? हु नोज दिस? सो व्हाट आई विल डू, I will give that A's bank letter, which is letter of credit, to my bank. Now let's put this B's bank. And I will ask my bank to confirm this to me, that whether this letter of credit is genuine, authenticated or not. So what my bank will do, my bank will have his own contacts or probably branch in US, and will get this verified, whether this letter of credit which is issued by A's bank in favor of B, whether that's authenticated or not. And when when B's bank confirms to B that yes, this is checked, verified, then only B will accept this letter of credit. Now, what has happened in this case? Now B is not relying on A, is not relying on A's bank, is relying on his own bank. Is this clear?
Sir.
Yes,
Real
sir.
transactions ऐसे करते हैं हम लोग. So we get another local bank who certifies or verifies this letter of credit issued by a foreign bank. Of course, B will charge money for this. There's no free lunches into this. So in this example, A's bank will charge some fees to A. Similarly, B's bank will charge some fees to B, because they're giving the services, correct? Now, Kansha, does this answer your
Yeah.
question? Because now, in this case, I'm least bothered about A and A's bank. I'm only bothered about B's bank, which is my bank. और मुझे अपने बैंक पे तो पता ही होगा ना उसकी local, because that's a local bank. मुझे पता होगा उसकी condition कैसी है. Now, if you go to the extreme scenario, what if B also goes into default? That's a risk that I'm running, correct? वो तो आप वैसे भी run कर रहे हो. If you go to saving, if you go to Yes Bank or let's say ICICI Bank and open your savings account or open an FD, you're not doing a business, correct? You've just opened a simple savings account, and if that bank goes into bankruptcy, you're still running the same risk.
Okay.
I have a question here. In case B's bank defaults, or in case of any unanticipated mishap, would B's bank be liable?
That depends on the terms and condition of the LC. In most of the cases, these LCs are being structured, which is called as guaranteed LC. In those cases, yes, the B would be liable to pay. In certain cases, these are not guaranteed LCs. And in those cases, in those extreme scenarios or unforeseen credit defaults, the probably payment will not be done.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Any other doubt in this? If no, we'll come back to this, and this is what point number 5. So any doubt in first 5? I'm giving you another probably a minute or so before I move further. So see, if you got this first 5 points, and again, guys, as I said in the last class, and I've been repeating this myself in the last couple of classes, that when I ask you have you understood this, this is probably a three-step process. So first is, have I understood this? Is it making sense to me or not? Second, am I logically convinced? And if yes, can I convince to somebody else if being required in if the same question is being asked in an interview or otherwise? If answer to all these three questions comes out to be yes, then it becomes yes for me. Should become yes for you. ठीक है, I'm giving you a minute. देख लीजिए एक बार ये first 5 जो मैंने कराए हैं, just get hang of it, absorb this, and then we'll move on.
Sorry, sir, one more doubt. Is trade finance catering to only funding for the trade that inter countries relations are involved in the export and import, or there's more to it?
Any doubt in this? Are we good with this first 5 points?
I was asking something. It was related to trade finance only. I was just confirming that trade finance only caters to the funding for the export and import services, or is it does it include anything else as
Local
well?
trade. Yeah, it includes both the local and the international trade. It covers both. It's not that only the international trade what gets covered in the trade finance, but from practice. So that's the theoretical answer. It covers both domestic and international trade. But from a practical perspective, the major portion of the business is more aggressive into international trade rather than domestic trade, because अगर मैं एक domestic manufacturer को एक order देता हूँ तो generally I don't go for a letter of credit in same city or same country, correct? But theoretically it's allowed, but practically India में or most of the countries local trade में इतना aggressive नहीं होता है. You'll see 95% of this trade finance more aggressive into international trade. Akansha, does that answer your question?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Anything else, guys? Okay. The next is treasury. Now, treasury is the team in the bank who takes care of two things. One, they manages surplus of the funds, and two, they manages the shortage of the funds. What does that mean? For example, in case there is a shortage of the funds in a bank, then this treasury team arranges the funds for the bank. Similarly, if there is a surplus funds in a particular bank at a given point of time, then this team again manages the fund and start generating return out of this. that's the role of the treasury team. To keep it simple, they have two primary roles. One is to manage surplus funds, and at the same time to also manage the shortage of the funds, depending upon which situation comes in. So just to give an example, for example, let's assume ICICI Bank have so suppose you go to ICICI Bank, and just suppose you put up an FD of, let's assume, 50 lakh rupees, and you put this FD for 5 years, and you have put this FD for 5 years, and then you come back, and ICICI Bank has put this 50 lakhs has given loan to another customer, correct? Now let's know after 3 years, so before your completion of the 5 years, you've gone to bank and say, now I need my money back. There's a possibility bank might not be able to arrange this immediately. So bank will say, okay, we'll need some time. Need some time means probably a couple of hours or probably a day or two. Okay. Now, it is possible that at that point of time, they might not have the 50 lakh. I'm just giving you an example. 50 lakh is a very small amount from a bank like ICICI, 250 crores in this example. So they will pass on this request to the treasury team, and the treasury team will quickly arrange these funds because there's a shortage of the funds. Similarly, on the other side, it could be on the surplus of the. So before I go to surplus, any doubt on the shortage, on the example of the shortage side? Okay. Now on the surplus side, suppose I've gone to ICICI Bank and suppose say, I want to put this 50 lakh rupees FD, and I've given 50 lakh rupees to ICICI Bank and open my FD. Now what ICICI Bank will do with this? What they will do with this fund? They will give this to some customers who are coming for the loan. Let's assume there are no customers coming in for the loan, and it's 1 week now. They will not keep these funds with them. ICICI Bank again will pass on this request to a treasury team saying that we've received a 50 lakh or 50 crore in FD, and we're not getting customers for a loan. So can you start generating return out of this? Which again is an example of managing surplus funds, which is again taken care by a treasury team. So treasury team, which is point number 6 in this slide, manages both the surplus and the shortages depending upon what comes in. Any doubt? Any doubt?
No doubt, sir.
Okay. So that's what the commercial banks. So first 6 points are falls. First 6 points is what falls in the category of commercial bank. These are the services or probably the products also from offered by a commercial bank. Where first two under retail, and probably third to sixth under corporate banking team. So last time, any doubt in commercial bank before I move to investment bank?
No doubt.
So, one thing, treasury will come in under corporate banks.
Yeah, majorly would become on the corporate banks because trying to understand individuals like you and me, वो ICICI बैंक के लिए कितनी shortage और कितनी surplus create कर सकता है, because our ticket size is very small, correct? Corporates are those customers who come with the large funding requirements or put a large funds to the bank, which means as a corporate they have a high ability to create a surplus and the shortage, but the individuals are not able to create that significant shortage or surplus for a bank like ICICI or a similar size banks. That's the reason why treasury will fall in the corporate.
Okay, sir.
And sir, if individual can create that much amount, that will include in the private banking, not treasury.
Yeah. पर रियल वर्ल्ड में होता नहीं है सर. But suppose अगर real world में ऐसा हो भी जाता है, so what we do, we generally see those transactions being passed on by a private bank to a treasury team of the corporate banking. क्योंकि है तो एक ही बैंक ना, तो आपस में अगर जरूरत पड़ेगी इमरजेंसी की, so rather than creating a separate team, the team remains one. If the private bank needs those surplus or shortage funds requirement, then they coordinate with the treasury team of the corporate bank.
Okay.
So I had the doubt for a treasury in the surplus fund. So if there is any surplus, how will they cater, as in the treasury team, how will they cater the amount?
So I'm not sure. I think the question should be on the both sides. आपको I think surplus or shortage दोनों पूछना चाहिए था. So given you're asking only surplus, seems you're aware of shortage of the funds. So let me first ask this: from where the bank will arrange the shortage of the funds? Yeah, Kansha.
They must
How
be
will
having the amount already.
so if they have already, they already have that amount, how will this be shortage? Shortage means they don't have it, correct? You have to arrange from somewhere outside the bank.
Sir.
Amit, रुको एक मिनट. Yeah, Kansha.
Okay, sir.
Maybe from any of the investors, not sure.
Investor means? So that's why I said your question should have been on both sides, because अगर आपको shortages पता है तो आपको surplus automatically पता है, क्योंकि दोनों का आंसर सेम है, and that's the reason why when you ask on the surplus not on the shortage, then it automatically means कि दोनों साइड पे नहीं पता. So I will answer that. हाँ अमित, you're asking something, sorry, go ahead.
सर नॉट आस्किंग उधर शॉर्टेज का थोड़ा पता है, जैसे हर बैंक की लिमिट डिसाइड होती है कि इतना कैश वो रख सकता है. अगर कोई भी कस्टमर आता है उससे ज्यादा का डिमांड करता है आउट ऑफ हिज अकाउंट, तो एक ब्रांच होती है, मेन ब्रांच कह सकते हैं या फिर आरबीआई कह सकते हैं, कि जो एक्स्ट्रा कैश होता है बैंक हैज टू डिपॉजिट देयर. तो वहां से एक बार
सेंट्रल बैंक.
So इसको इंटरबैंक लेंडिंग एंड बोरोइंग बोलते हैं, ठीक है. So not only central bank, for example, if ICICI Bank is in shortage of the funds, at the same time HDFC Bank is a surplus of the funds, so ICICI can borrow from HDFC Bank, correct? It helps both the sides. So HDFC के पास surplus है, उसका surplus deploy हो गया, यानी HDFC Bank की treasury team ICICI Bank की treasury team को लोन दे देती है. And that loan could be for 1 day or could be for 2 days as well. इतने छोटे टर्म भी होते हैं, मॉर्निंग इवनिंग भी होते हैं, मॉर्निंग में दिया, इवनिंग में वापस आ गया. These are called as money market instruments, very short-term loans. So that's why it's called as interbank lending and borrowing. That's one way. Of course, the another example जो आप लोग बोल रहे हो, RBI से भी हो सकता है. अगर ICICI बैंक को किसी और बैंक से नहीं मिल रहा है मार्केट में, and if RBI at that point of time has surplus funds, so RBI से भी borrow कर सकता है. Could be vice versa also. अगर ICICI के पास surplus है और RBI को जरूरत है, तो ICICI RBI को भी दे सकता है.
ओके सर.
बट ये सेकंड वाला थियोरेटिकल वर्जन है, रियल वर्ल्ड में सेकंड नहीं होता जनरली. Second means RBI is generally running out of the cash and reaching out to private sector bank, वो नहीं होता. So if they run out of the cash, they come through another mechanism of money supply, which is again through some of the PSU banks rather than reaching out through private sector banks.
ओके सर. सर आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन. सर जैसे बैंक ऑडिट पे स्टैच्यूटरी बैंक ऑडिट हमने करी है, तो उसके अंदर क्या होता है, हम कैश बुक इनकी बैंक बुक चेक करते हैं, तो 20 लाख सपोज की लिमिट है. अगर 20 लाख से ज्यादा कैश है बैंक के पास, तो दे हैव टू डिपॉजिट एक्स्ट्रा कैश. तो वो क्या होता है, मतलब
नहीं, वो एक्स्ट्रा कैश, वो एक्स्ट्रा कैश. सो व्हाट यू आर रेफरिंग टू, लेट्स से ब्रांच है, सो आईसीआईसीआई बैंक की डिफरेंट ब्रांचेस होती है, टियर 1, टियर 2, टियर 3 ब्रांचेस. सो हर ब्रांच को एक बड़ी ब्रांच से लिंक किया होता है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल एक छोटी ब्रांच है, इसकी 20 लाख की लिमिट है, सो व्हिच मींस इफ दैट ब्रांच गेट्स अ कैश मोर देन 20 लाख, तो वो जो सरप्लस कैश है वो उस ब्रांच में नहीं रख सकते, उनको अपनी ऊपर की ब्रांच में पास ऑन करना होता है.
Okay.
That's what you're referring to.
Yes, yes.
हाँ, so that amount doesn't go to RBI, क्योंकि RBI के पास जो पैसा जाता है वो ब्रांच लेवल पे नहीं जाता है, वो ICICI बैंक की होल पैन इंडिया लेवल पे जाएगा, which is one head office है उसके.
Okay.
So RBI will not deal with, that's ICICI Bank has 100 branches across India. So RBI will not deal with individual branches of ICICI Bank. RBI will deal with one ICICI Bank as a whole. Now it's ICICI Bank look out to internally manage कि कौन सी ब्रांच में शॉर्टेज है, कौन सी ब्रांच में सरप्लस है. फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स assume ICICI बैंक की एक ब्रांच कनाट प्लेस में है और लेट्स assume एक ब्रांच साउथ एक्स में है. CP वाली ब्रांच में सरप्लस है और साउथ एक्स वाली ब्रांच में शॉर्टेज है, तो आपस में उनको कोऑर्डिनेट करना पड़ेगा, करेक्ट, कि वो शॉर्टेज वहां से सरप्लस वाली ब्रांच पे पहुंच जाए.
यस सर.
तो वो करते हैं वो लोग. अगर हुआ इंटरेस्ट, I can cover this. This is not too much of the part of because we are not dealing too much into the commercial banking. But in case you want to get into more details of this, I can cover this at later point of time as well. So that's not a problem. But what you need to understand from a treasury perspective, how these treasury teams of the bank manage these shortages and surpluses primarily through money market instruments, where one of the aggressive instruments are interbank borrowing and the lending activities. And these loans from one bank to another bank, that's why it's called interbank. One bank to another bank. And these are very short-term loans. Could be for 1 hour, could be for 1 day, could be during the day as well, and could be for a couple of weeks as well. But generally ये overnight borrowing इनको बोलते हैं कि आज लिया कल वापस करेंगे. Okay sir. हाँ जी. Any other doubt? I'm not sure whether you're reading these. Did I told you, I think in one of the earlier sessions, that you should read newspapers? Have you discussed on that piece? I remember, I think I mentioned. Sorry?
No sir.
No.
No.
No. Okay.
No, sir.
So let me spend a couple of minutes on this also. So it's very important that you regularly keep a track of what's happening around. Now I leave it to you what's the platform or what's the channel of information that you choose. You choose a physical newspaper, you choose some mobile phone app, or you choose some TV channel or whatever. So I leave it that to you. But it's very important that you get a regular access to information, and we're talking about the right information, not the noise or not the nonsense information that we're talking about. It's very important you get a regular access of that information. You absorb that information and you start understanding those pieces. Because I hope you understand when you will get in the interview rounds, there's a possibility then in addition to these technical concepts जो आपको इस प्रोग्राम में कराए जाएंगे in this journey, there's a possibility that you might be asked some of the questions which are not questions which are pertinent to this program, but these are questions more of what's happening around economy, what's your view on this particular agenda or issue that's happening around. And if you have some understanding or view on those concepts, it puts you in a better position vis-a-vis other candidates. So I hope you understand this piece, correct, guys?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'm
Nishan.
reading from since
Yes,
my
sir.
MBA days.
तो ठीक है, आप अगर पढ़ रहे हो तो ठीक है, नहीं पढ़ रहे हो तो भी आपकी कॉल है. I don't see that probably you are not aware on the importance, but I think I've still clarified that it's very important that you read these
Yes.
newspapers or any other form of the source of the information, because you will be ask questions around these themes, and if you are not able to answer those questions and you are completely blank on these sites, then it doesn't give a right impression to a recruiter. Because for me, suppose if when I go and recruit, if I get a candidate which is a good candidate but doesn't know what's happening around, to me that candidate is purely a theoretical candidate, because when he knows theory and he knows a lot of concepts and definition but don't know what's happening around, and at the same time, if you don't know what's happening around, you will not be able to give me an impression that you know how to apply those concepts into real world. Because real world में क्या हो रहा है वो आपको पता ही नहीं है, तो concepts कैसे apply करोगे? So I think I leave that piece with you in terms of if you believe uh, no, this is not important for you, for you and for your career, which means reading newspapers or getting access to any other source of information, that is pretty good for you. But if you believe no, that's important, then you need to put some effort and put some discipline around this to get this information and start absorbing this information on a periodic basis. What I can do for you, when you start reading these information or start absorbing this, if any of the concept term that you're not able to understand, you want me to explain, I'm more than happy to jump in and explain those concepts or the topic if required. But I think you need to make that effort to start. I understand you will have a lot of challenges from a timing perspective, but I think that's the game that you need to play. I think during the interview or post interview, nobody will be interested in getting an excuse that कि मेरे पास time नहीं था इसलिए मैं नहीं पढ़ पाया या पढ़ पाई. So let's be mature enough that if you want something to happen for you from a career perspective, then of course you need to put some effort. You need to probably put an extra effort and probably bend your back to say, okay, I need to do this. From where you get the time, how do you get the time, and how do you get the discipline? I leave it to you. I think you're mature enough to understand the importance, and if you believe it is important, then how do you want to find out that time? That's something that I leave it to you. But in terms of once you start doing this, any support that you need in terms of, you will, for example, somebody is not reading, let's say, economic times. When you start reading those economic times, you will start realizing that you'll not be able to understand the information. Then that's where I can try and help you in terms of, okay, how do you start with this? So there's a methodology that you need to use, and slowly you get used to that form of an information, correct? So I think those are the things which I can try and help you. But in terms of time, in terms of initiative, in terms of discipline is very important. You read newspaper once in a week and don't do it for less 20 days or 10 days. It's still, I think, useless according to me. You need to have some form of discipline around this. So I think any questions, thought, doubt on this?
Just a point. Just a point to add, sir. The importance of economic time is such that you cannot even clear the first round of any Big Four or any Big 20 firms if you want to enter in the finance world. It's not even possible to clear the first round if you don't read economic times. That I know. I've been reading since 5 years.
Yeah, so correct. So that's what I'm saying. So in our organization, 7 rounds are conducted for an interview to hire somebody at the entry level. And I take interviews from a fourth to sixth round. So I think there's no doubt about this, what Sahil mentioned. So be it a Big Four or be it any other company, I think it's obvious that you would
imperative.
be exposed to, yeah, it would be, I think, fair to say that yes, you would be exposed to those questions as well. And if you need to fight that battle, I don't know how many of you are genuinely interested in those battles as well. Which means if any of you, I remember when we had this first session, some of you were not there in the first session. So that's why reason I don't know how many of you, but for those who interacted with me in the first session, out of those, I think most of you mentioned that the objective of the joining this program is you don't get into the financial side. So if you really mean that dream, saying that I won't get into this industry is one thing, but genuinely living the dream and putting an effort is a little different. So that's the way I look at it. But it's very important that you start understanding what's required to win that battle. And this is one of those skill set or one of those abilities those you would need under your belt to win that battle. So and of course guys, please let's be honest to ourselves. ये आप इंटरव्यू से 10 दिन पहले क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते. So if you believe you will sit with 2-3 month newspaper in last 10 days of the program, or probably closer towards your placement process, and then you will start reading those entire newspaper of couple of months, to be very honest, I don't think that's the way it will work. So think about this. Again, no compulsion or no force from my side. Don't take me wrong. It's just in your favor. I'm just trying to put the practical side, the way I've understood this on both sides. When I give my interview, or I've given my interviews, or when I go and recruit, on both the sides, I've realized that this is a critical piece. And as I said, more than happy to help in terms of you're struggling, in terms of you're not able to understand some term, you're not able to understand how to handle this source of information or whatever. So any help required from me on this, more than happy to help. But you need to make this initiative. You need to start ball rolling for yourself. I'm not sure कितने लोग convinced है इस concept से, because जितने लोगों ने इंडस्ट्री देखनी शुरू कर दी है या एक्सपोजर मिलना शुरू हो गया या कुछ इंटरव्यूज हैं, शायद वो लोग को लाइन होगा थॉट प्रोसेस. Some of you who have not yet been exposed to this side of the industry, probably for them they might believe ये तो शायद लग रहा है जरूरत नहीं, but I leave it to you. If you believe what I'm saying is making sense, so guys, please start putting an effort. It's a long journey. It will take its own time. So for example, somebody who's not reading Economic Times, believe me, you start reading Economic Times, it will take a couple of weeks for you to just get a hang of the newspaper. समझ में आना तो बहुत दूर की बात है, आपको जस्ट उसका स्ट्रक्चर समझने में कि कहाँ पर क्या इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है 1 से 2 हफ्ते लगेंगे. फिर उसके बाद धीरे धीरे आपको समझ में आना शुरू होगा. इट विल टेक अ मंथ or so where you get comfortable and start reading it at a pace where you want to read at it.
So can I ask something regarding this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, since the lockdown, there's no newspaper that's coming at my home. So do you recommend anything that I need to follow for this?
देखो कांशा, मैं वही बोल
Times
रहा
have
हूँ.
a very good app. You can use that.
Kansha, so that's the way my thought process is. अगर आप deliberately चाहते हो कि आपके पास न्यूज़पेपर आए तो वो आएगा. If you believe, so sorry, मेरे थोड़ा thought process बहुत ज़्यादा aligned है towards the corporate world. For example, during the lockdown, आपके पास खाना भी तो मुश्किल से पहुंचा होगा ना, आपकी supplies वगैरह affected हुई होगी, और आपने alternatives निकाले होंगे, correct? ऑनलाइन डिलीवरी और सम शेप एंड फॉर्म आपने निकाले होंगे कि जिससे आप मेडिकल हेल्प या जो भी सपोर्ट की जरूरत होगी वो सम शेप एंड फॉर्म में पहुंच जाए. सो सेम क्वेश्चन रिमेन्स हियर, करेक्ट? इफ यू वांट कि न्यूज़पेपर आपको मिले या न्यूज़पेपर नहीं मिले बिकॉज यू बिलीव दैट्स नॉट द राइट वे इन अ करंट एनवायरनमेंट, बट वो इन्फॉर्मेशन आपके पास कहीं से आना, तो आपको वो सोर्सेज फाइंड आउट करने पड़ेंगे. There are a lot of free apps available, there are a lot of stuff available on the Google, there are a lot of ई-न्यूज़पेपर दैट्स अवेलेबल. आपको चूज करना है कौन से फॉर्मेट में आप कंफर्टेबल हो, और हो सकता है मेरा फॉर्मेट कुछ और हो, आपका फॉर्मेट कुछ और हो, और हो सकता है साहिल का, पंकज का फॉर्मेट कुछ और हो, करेक्ट? Akansha?
Yes, sir.
Actually, Akanksha, there's this WhatsApp group that sends you all these newspapers, all the famous ones at least. They circulated in PDF form. so I can try to get you on that group. I mean, I've had it for over a year now, and all the newspapers are in PDF form, and yeah, it's quite useful.
And most of the newspapers have put this subscription on the free. I think it's still free. I remember for till last month it was free. I'm not sure for the month of July. So you can check on their websites as well. I think most of the newspapers have given this subscription on online version as free. So once you subscribe there, you don't need to pay any on your email. You on a daily basis you receive anyways the copy of the newspaper the way you will receive a physical format. So please go out and explore. Go out का मतलब घर से बाहर जाने को नहीं बोल रहा. Go out of your shell and explore. You will get something out of it. And that's the way you have to start looking and start approaching the life. If the problem comes in, don't wait. And this is just a beginning, correct? You will have 20 more problems or probably problems bigger than this that will come into this journey, correct? You can't sit, and I'm sorry, Akansha, I'm not saying this to you, I'm saying this to everyone. You can't sit, guys, and say, okay, nahi ho raha to main kya karu? You need to explore. If this is not happening, this door is closed. Let me start knocking this door. If it might work, it might not work. Okay, if it doesn't work, let me go to the third door. And you need to bang on. You need to hit each door what is available, and somewhere some door will open for you. And that's the way it has to be. And that's what the journey is all about. If you sit and say, okay, what should I do? Then nobody is going to come and help you. That's the way corporate works. Agar Akansha, agar aap corporate side mein ho, that's the way it works. You need to find your way on your own. Of course, you might need the guidance, but you can't sit if the problem comes. Anything else, guys?
NDTV प्रॉफिट इजी लैंग्वेज में बहुत आराम से एक्सप्लेन कर देता है, मतलब वो सबको समझ में आ जाएगा अगर कोई पढ़ना शुरू करे तो. NDTV प्रॉफिट ऐप है, वो बहुत सही है.
वो आपका डिसीजन है. मैं आई विल नॉट. ठीक है साहिल, आई थिंक ठीक है.
दैट्स एन एडवाइस मतलब.
हाँ ठीक है. सो वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ, वो सबको कंफर्ट डिपेंड करेगा कि किसको कौन सा फॉर्मेट चाहिए. हो सकता है कांशा को टीवी देखना पसंद नहीं, उसको समथिंग, शी नीड समथिंग टू रीड, करेक्ट? सो इट्स इंडिविजुअल चॉइस. आपको कौन सा प्लेटफॉर्म पसंद है, जो प्लेटफॉर्म पसंद है वो आप पिक कर लो. अगर आपको सुनना पसंद है आप सुनना ले लो. आपको रीड करने के लिए कुछ चाहिए आप वो रीड करने के लिए ले लो. somebody says नहीं मुझे तो रिटेन करना है, I can't read the entire newspaper in a one day, which means I need it. That paper should stay with me for a couple of next days. मैं उसमें मार्किंग करूंगा, उसमें अंडरलाइन करूंगा, नोट्स बनाऊंगा. that's not going to happen, correct? आपको फिजिकल न्यूज़पेपर चाहिए. सो इट डिपेंड्स आप कितने इंटेंस और कितनी इंटेंसिटी से इस पे काम करना चाहते हैं. स्टार्ट करिए आप लोग. एक्सप्लोर इंडिविजुअली कौन कौन से ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल है, कौन सा ऑप्शन आपके लिए अच्छा है, and then we can take it forward from there. I'm just trying to help you guys. You need to vocalize a batch. आप लोग अभी भी बहुत ज्यादा शेल में हो. आपको जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, जो इश्यूज हैं, you need to come out and be expressive to me कि सर मेरा ये कंसर्न है, ये हेल्प चाहिए, and then I'm more than happy to help, correct? But I think you as a batch is still into a little shell, and in not in terms of, so for example, when we start off the session, generally a lot of questions which doesn't come too much, which means कि हमने जो पिछला टॉपिक किया शायद वो आप रिवाइज नहीं कर रहे. I don't know. So you need to be more interactive, be more open, feel free of asking whatever you want, even if there are questions which is a little off the topic. More than happy to take those as well.
Yeah, Nishant, I have a somewhat personal question. Can I go ahead?
Discuss now. If you're comfortable, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically about you. Would you be willing to share more with us about your professional journey and where you're currently working, and tell us more about yourself, just to get an idea about where you are. And you mentioned you conduct interviews for 5th and 6th round as well. So I'd certainly like to know more about that. Not just that, about your professional journey as a whole.
I think I discussed this, but I'm not sure whether you attended the session or not.
I actually wasn't present for the first session due to some technical difficulties. But yeah, I had watched the backup. I'm not sure I recall what was discussed about your personal journey. If you don't mind sharing again.
No issues. So I would keep it very simple and brief.
Yeah.
I'm working with an investment bank. Earlier I was in US. I was handling the equity side. Then I moved to Singapore for a couple of years. Again, I was looking after the equity and an M&A team. And for last 6.5 odd years, I've been posted to India, and currently leading M&A and evaluation and modeling team. From a total work experience is close to 15 odd years. So next month I will complete 15 odd years. That's the way. And in terms of sessions like this, I do a lot of sessions for a lot of B schools and associations like this. I am visiting faculty in a lot of B schools and conduct sessions for corporates and clients like Ematicus. So that's the teaching side of it.
All right.
Your academic background, if I may ask?
Sorry?
What is your academic background, if I may ask?
So I'm an MBA finance, and then I've done my CFA. I'm an FRM and FRM holder as well. I've done a certification from US markets as well when I was in US. So बहुत कुछ है, but I think इतना बहुत है अभी आप लोग. ठीक है guys. कुछ और है before we close? I am getting a pop-up for the next class now. Anything else, guys?
No, sir.
No, sir. चलिए ठीक है. In terms of, I think I never realized कि आप लोग को इतनी ज़्यादा interest in knowing in terms of who am I and what's my background, but ठीक है, it's good. फिर आप लोग को interest है. From my perspective, I think what's important is not what I've done in the past. ठीक है? What is important for me, what I can do for you now and future, because that's the way it should be. अगर मैंने past में कुछ achieve किया है for my personal education or my professional front, that does not guarantee that I would be a good trainer for you. That's the way you need to understand, guys. That's the way I don't believe in putting all this as my introduction, because that should not be the way that you should look at it. The way you should look at it is that whoever is on the other side, means who is on the other side as a trainer, you believe can help you to get through this journey and help you to win that battle. If the answer is yes, then of course you're in the right hands. If the answer is no, then irrespective of the past of that individual, I think it's a problem. But again, I understand it's more of an normal tendency to know what the person is, which is okay. And of course, I think
just to familiarize
most of you, yeah, agree, correct, agree. And most of you will soon start interacting with me in person as well. Those who have opted for offline classes. So
how soon do you think that would be possible? That could be possible. I believe not too sure if that would be possible for this batch at least.
I honestly don't think so. I think this batch will definitely meet me in person. So I think
I would definitely like to see.
उतना तो मुझे sure है. Okay, so don't worry about those pieces. So and I saw, I think, couple of questions in the chat, offline, online, काफी I think confusion आप लोग दामनी से पूछने की कोशिश कर रहे थे. So I leave that to Damni to clarify. But it's pretty clear that if once the situation from this pandemic perspective comes under control, when I say more, I'm saying in terms of because there are still some statutory restrictions from conducting classes, correct? These unlock phases have not given any relaxation to the education and classes like this. So yeah, let's hope and let's see how does it turn out. But I think I am positive that it should because your batch is still starting, correct? And as Namni has advised me, we are going relatively slow, correct? We are only having 2 hour sessions, so it's pretty possible that I think your batch will get an opportunity to interact with me in person. Only those people, of course, who have opted for an offline session. Those who have opted for an online session, probably I can't help too much because that's the way you have chosen to interact.
And Nishant, another thing, are there any morning batches also that you're conducting? Because I was actually informed that there would be a flexi option to either take the morning batch or in the online mode, of course, for the time being. Because the evening time, I wouldn't say it's entirely inconvenient, but yeah, I mean it does get in the way of other things, and getting done with the study in the morning would be the best.
Sorry, Akshay. This is very different what I have been given to understand. In fact, I have been given to understand that your batch has opted for the evening slot. I'm not sure.
Actually, I don't think we were specifically asked which slot we would prefer. At least I wasn't. I was just simply informed that it's a 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Batch.
Okay,
But yeah, if possible, I would definitely prefer to do this in the morning. When we are much more fresh than we
I
are.
will park off. I will speak to Damni because I hope you understand in terms of scheduling this session.
Right, I understand.
That's not in my hand, and I don't get into those pieces. So the way you receive an email that from this slot to this slot you have a session, I receive a whole schedule of the weekend in terms of from this slot to this slot, this batch from this slot to this slot. So the way, for example, now I have another class at 8 and I'm continuously getting pop-up from Damni that another batch is waiting for me. So okay, I will pass on that feedback to Damni in terms of
thanks a lot.
but let's be open about it because if I move it to your morning batch, it will have its own complications because the morning batch is little far ahead of what we are for your batch, which means if I shift you into that batch, which means you will lose a lot of concepts in between. So let me speak to Damni in terms of what best can be done, and then of course Damni can speak to you either individually or as a batch. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. And also I think just this probably last a minute before she is. So this guys, please it's very important. ये concepts वगैरह ठीक है चलते रहेंगे यार, बस आपको I think you need to get motivated, correct? You need to get a sense of the dream that you want to achieve. Honestly, as a batch, मुझे अभी बहुत low लगते हो आप लोग energies में. The kind of intensity that I see from my other batches doesn't seem to be there. Of course, you are just a batch, and it's what our second interaction, if I'm not wrong. So of course, I understand you will take your time to get this momentum going. I have no doubt about it. But you need to understand one piece that you need to ask yourself, and I can take this tomorrow as well. You need to ask yourself how big the dream is for you, for you as an individual, and what you are willing to do for it. And if the answer comes out to be that this dream is big enough and you're willing to do anything for this, then the questions like this, you're not able to find half an hour for reading newspaper, you're not able to put that extra effort, you're finding it difficult to have an evening class. Guys, I think that then becomes too kiddish to me, because then what we're talking about is that I'm not being serious about that dream. Because if I'm serious about the dream, then even if I ask you to attend the session in 12 midnight, it should be an easy stuff. That's the way I look at it, because that's the kind of motivation that I draw. I'm not saying आप लोग उस level पे चले जाओ, but I'm just trying to put a context, guys, कि अगर वो dream मेरे लिए important है, ठीक है, so then nothing should come in between. If something is coming in between, you should have those motivation and intensity to remove those stuff from between you and your dream. That's the way I look at it. Okay, but having said this, let me speak to Damni Amit, जो morning वाला जो query है, and then either Damni will speak to.
I mean, I guess we're all just energized more in the morning, and it's not about the intensity or anything. I mean, I don't mind evening batches.
Honestly बताऊं अक्षय honestly बताऊं, मेरा morning वाला बैच है, ठीक है, वो मुझे क्या बोलता है, सर morning में मत पढ़ाओ, इवनिंग में
वो
लेके जाओ कि
सोच
मॉर्निंग में
के
सैटरडे को संडे को उठने में इतना उतना मुश्किल होता है.
yeah,
So correct, we are human beings, correct? So
yeah.
that's also okay. वो बोलते हैं सर फ्राइडे तक हमारी क्लासेस और फ्राइडे तक ऑफिस होता है, सैटरडे को सुबह 7 बजे आके उठा देते हो, कैसे होगा? संडे को सर
Oh,
फैमिली से टाइम स्पेंड. So I think you understand both side problem है दोस्त.
yeah. Absolutely.
मेरा आफ्टरनून वाला बैच है, बोलता है सर आफ्टरनून में क्यों पढ़ाते हो, संडे को आफ्टरनून में कौन पढ़ता है सर? अब आप मुझे बताओ, इवनिंग वाले को प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, मॉर्निंग वाले को प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. So I think it's a human psychology, correct? So having said this, on a serious note, I will pass on that to Damni and let her figure out in terms of morning.
Yeah, but either way, I'm good. Either way, I'm good. If anything can be done, that would be.
That's what I want. That's what I want. Correct? That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
In terms of, because yeah, समझो, I think I'm not sure आप you're working or not, but अगर आप ऑफिस में इंडस्ट्री में वर्क करते हो, करेक्ट, आपका सिर्फ
Yeah.
ऑफिस जाने का टाइम फिक्स होता है, आने का टाइम फिक्स नहीं होता, करेक्ट. देयर आर डेज in the journey where you spend a lot of more extra time or late hours in the office, correct? You don't have too much of terms and conditions because we know at the end of the year what's there lying into that process, correct? Appraisal है, promotion है, increment है. I'm saying same process यहाँ पे भी है ना. Think about this, correct? These are extra effort that you're putting in, and you have after 3-4 means is an appraisal, which is nothing but an interview round, correct? That's an appraisal, correct?
Yeah.
So just be motivated about those things. ठीक है. So हम और बात करेंगे. I think आपके as a batch को थोड़ा I think ज़्यादा सही तरह की I think जरूरत
I
है
think
चाहिए.
most of us would be a lot more vocal when we see you in person as well.
अगर ठीक है, I have no issues on that, but I think it's important. Let's not wait for that time because I hope you know कि वो मेरे हाथ में नहीं है, वो आपके हाथ में नहीं है.
Plus,
And
we
it's
haven't
also
even gotten into second gear yet. I think we're still just beginning.
Also, Akshay, what if suppose tomorrow the government says, okay, it's open and now you can conduct classes? Will you be comfortable? Will your family will be comfortable? Probably might not be.
Yeah, the climate. That's what I was, logically speaking, I don't think it would be possible for the entirety of the batch. But let's hope for the best and let's see.
Correct. But I'm saying what's important. I understand when you're in person, there's no doubt about it. You become more vocal and probably more. But if it will take its own time, of course, because that's required, correct? Safety and family is very important in the current environment. If it will take its own time, let's not take this an excuse कि अगर मैं आपको in person नहीं देख पा रहा हूँ तो मैं vocal नहीं होगा.
नहीं, that's no way.
So, आपको जल्दी से as an individually सबको बोल रहा हूँ, you need to get into the momentum. ठीक है भाई, अब ये जो मैं नहीं देख पा रहा, and honestly मैं कोई देखने वाली चीज नहीं हूँ. What I can help you is if you listen me carefully and you do what I am asking you to do. That's more important for you. But I understand. मैं भी आपको नहीं देख पा रहा हूँ या तो I understand. अगर मैं किसी को नहीं देख पा रहा हूँ तो उसके साथ एक रैपो बनाने में टाइम लगता है. But sorry, let me complete. So it takes on time. But इतना टाइम नहीं है दोस्त हमारे पास. ये 3-3.5 महीने की जर्नी है. इसमें मैं आपको 2 महीने वेस्ट नहीं करने दे सकता to build that rapport, correct? क्योंकि आप मुझे देख नहीं पा रहे हैं. Correct?
As the course progresses, I think definitely we'll have more questions.
It has to. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That's why I said it's a momentum. Correct. Yeah. Correct. Sorry, Akansha. Sorry. Go ahead. Just the last 30 seconds, guys. Damni will kill me. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just trying to get the solution for this. I was trying that if we can do a video call once, that would be fine either if he wants this kind of a.
यार आकांक्षा मैंने किया था वो, but the bandwidth because 20-25 स्टूडेंट्स की वीडियो कॉल पूरा हैंग हो गया था. You need to be conscious. उतनी bandwidth है आप लोग के पास, इंटरनेट कनेक्टिविटी इतनी स्ट्रांग है कि हम 20-25 लोगों की वीडियो कॉल एक साथ ले पाए. जो मैंने टेस्ट किया था, so some of the batches we tested this, it doesn't work. Some of you probably might be dialing from phone as well. उनको तो सुनाई नहीं देगा मैं क्या बोलूँगा. तो जैसे मैं अपनी वीडियो ऑन करता हूँ, the bandwidth gets choked. ठीक है, we'll talk about this इस पे. ठीक है, but you seem to be more interested in terms of मैं दिखता कैसा हूँ, मैं कौन हूँ, क्या हूँ. But guys, I'm not a terrorist, so just be confident about it. कुछ डरने की जरूरत नहीं. Hey guys, sorry, but I have to rush into the next path. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. It's good to have this interaction. I think it's important you guys.
And Nishan, by this we can start with watching introduction to financial analysis videos. I have watched the first one, and we can continue on that on our end.
नहीं समझा नहीं मैं.
मतलब वीडियो देखना स्टार्ट कर दिया अभी मैंने. कर सकते हैं ना अभी? ऐसा कुछ तो नहीं है कि
हाँ कर सकते
ठीक.
कर सकते.
ओके
ठीक है guys, चलो we'll continue कांचन अक्षय जो डिस्कस हम कर रहे थे. Thanks, bye, good.
मैं
Bye.